Alright guys, so we just finished up doing some work with variables, and to try to learn about these variables a little bit more, I want you to open a new REPL. I want you to do a new REPL in Python, and we're going to name this adding and subtracting. And you're going to create it. So as we know, we can give variables any name we want, okay? So the goal of this program is simply just going to be to add and subtract things very simply. And we're not going to do anything fancy because we're kind of still building up our knowledge of Python. So let's just say I want to add and subtract some numbers. So the first thing we need to do is we need to make a variable for, if we're going to add two numbers, I need a variable for each number. So I might just write num1 for like abbreviated number 1, and then num2. Okay? And I'm just going to set them equal. Okay? Now, because we need to put something in the program, we want the program to ask what the numbers are. We're just going to do this. We're going to do input. And then we're going to type a question. We're going to say type number 1, and then input type number 2. Okay? So input just literally asks what you to type in whatever is in here. So watch if we hit run and test this on your end. If we hit run, you're going to see it asks us. So it says number 1 equals input type number 1. Well, if I hit like 10, type number 2, if I hit 20, nothing happens right now, okay? So I might want to put a space after this so it doesn't get weird with the questions. So because you saw there wasn't a gap there, because remember I told you in the previous lesson we had to put a space after the quotes to make spaces. So I might put like a colon to type number 1, 10, type number 2, 20. And I hit enter. Good, it's working. Now, if we want to add these two things together, it's pretty simple, okay? So all you have to do is simply do a math problem with these two variable names. So if I type num1 plus num2, that's all I need to do. And I hit run. Now, there's no errors when I do this. However, nothing shows. And I want you to think why. And you should be thinking, because I never really told it to print anything. So yes, when you want to display something on the screen, you need to type print and put this entire thing in parentheses. Now look what happens. Type number 1, 20. Type number 2, 10. And that did not work. So we got 2010. Okay? So that obviously did not work for us. Okay? Now, the reason that did not work is because it is taking these two numbers like they are pieces of text. In other words, remember, pieces of text in programming is called a string. Now, if I want to make these numbers here what we call an actual number, an integer in programming, all I'm going to do, I'm going to come down to this right here, and I'm going to type int and put it in the parentheses around these variable names. So int. So look at that line. Notice I have 2 parentheses there. So now, when I do this, 20 plus 10, it comes out like a math problem, 30. So I'll do it again. 100, 200 plus 20, 220. Again, the only difference is because in this top line here, we've said input type number 1. It takes that as a string, a word, If I type in 10, it takes it as a word instead of a number. So you have to specify in this bottom part here, number 1 is an integer, it's a number. Number 2 variable is an integer, it's a number. Now if I wanted, could I put it up here? Let's check. So if I do int up here, like that, input up there, int, and I get rid of it down here. Maybe I don't need it down here, we can check that. So I would just do that. Let's see if that works. We run it. And you're going to see that that really doesn't work sometimes, okay? So it could be, in programming, sometimes we got to try things. You know, maybe if I do it like this, let's see if that works. So you can see here that you're kind of trying to troubleshoot things. Things are going to look a little bit weird and maybe not work so right. But it's good for you to explore. So we can't put the int up there. We just simply have to deal with it living down here in our print. Okay. So let's just check this is running back normal. It is. Okay. So you have to put it down here. int, like I told you. And you have to surround it down here. Okay. And that's not a big deal. But now this program is completely running the way it should, and I have an error on line 5. I forgot to do that. There we go. So again, 90 plus 10 should be 100. Okay, so this is how we use variables to make smart programs. Okay, so again, this over here on the left side is just the name of these variables, and we read it like we kind of read English. The number 1 variable is equal to input type number 1. And you can kind of think of that as ask. So the number 1 variable is equal to asking me to type number 1. The number 2 variable is asking me to type number 2. Then it's going to print on the screen number 1 plus number 2, but they have to be numbers. Okay, so it has to be a number. You're going to notice that if I type up here cat plus dog, or doe, I made a typo, cat plus dog, let's say, it's not going to work because it's saying you need to be a number, not a word. Okay, so I know that this all is a little bit confusing. Let's try and see how we do.